Today our reading is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 20, verses 17 to 28. Do you know that hymn, The Servant King? It's by Graham Kendrick and was written in the 1980s. You might know it by the first line, "From heaven you came, helpless babe." Or by the chorus, "This is our God, the Servant King. He calls us now to follow him, to bring our lives as a daily offering of worship to the Servant King." It expresses beautifully the teaching of Jesus in today's passage in Matthew. It was a lesson that was very hard to learn and that had to be taught over and over again before it really sunk in. So we hear Jesus telling the disciples, for the third time according to Matthew, that he was going to be arrested and crucified and then would rise. But the very next episode is the mother of two of them coming to beg thrones on either side of Jesus, as if he hadn't said anything about suffering, as if he was about to seize power from Rome. And then the other 10 are angry and jealous with James and John that they seem to have stolen a march. So Jesus spells it all out again. With us, he says, it's not like any other human setup. We turn the usual ranking on its head. Power is not what we seek. With us, leadership is about service, sacrificial service. And he concludes with that memorable verse, "For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." That wasn't the end of the story, of course, and the shock, horror and confusion of the disciples when Jesus was arrested and crucified, faithfully reported by the evangelists, shows how little they had really taken in that message. John adds the heart-wrenching story of the foot washing on the night of the Last Supper, when Jesus tells them to follow his example and wash each other's feet as he did theirs. Perhaps the most touching narrative in the Gospels, and one that we usually reenact on Maundy Thursday. Not this year, since close contact and touching like that is way too risky just now. But if we look back and think how slow the disciples were to take in this message and learn this lesson of service, what of the church ever since? And what of you and I? Because we must bring it back to home, to our own individual lives and our own faith journeys as we seek to follow the way of Jesus. This is the only level on which most of us can make a difference ourselves. Have we learnt this lesson? And like the disciples, if we're honest, we will acknowledge that we are at best beginners in this lesson, in the business of putting others first and putting ourselves out for others. It's a daily challenge. In our me society, it's countercultural. So that hymn by Graham Kendrick makes a very good prayer for Lent. The last verse says, "So let us learn how to serve, and in our lives enthrone him, each other's needs to prefer, for it is Christ we're serving."